going? Consumer Warrior back here, continuing my video series on parts for a new build for 2020. It's Jesus, what month is it? It's July 2020, and I'm continuing on with parts that I recommended to a friend of mine to build, and for the most part, I got some of my suggestions in. Some of these are a little bit different than what I would get, but right now inventory is a little bit limited. It can be a little hard to get exactly what you want. A lot of things are sold out, particularly these new B550 motherboards from AMD. They look great, but they've had very limited stock. They've been sold out on Newegg and Amazon. Many of them are you back order them, or they're just straight up sold out. So still waiting on better availability. And in this case, this is a micro ATX board. You'll see later on that it's actually going inside a regular ATX PC case, but I think just due to availability and that the B550 Mortar from MSI was one of my recommendations based upon the features for the price and the really beefy power delivery and VRM cooling on it, as well as the rest of the features. I think Wi-Fi was a must in this case. So this is what we come up with. So this is the micro ATX version of the MSI B550M Mortar Wi-Fi. As a result, you miss out on a little bit, but not that much. This was $220 at the time of purchase, which is a little inflated to what they should be still because of the craziness happening in the world right now. But you do get a solid motherboard still, if it's a little pricey. Hopefully the prices come down in the near future. But just to go over some of the features here, still does come with two M.2 slots. One is PCI Express Gen 4 and one is Gen 3. So the Gen 4, there's some of them, and it will future-proof you as more come out. As of right now, in real-world experience-wise, there's not a big difference between the two. So I'd say you're paying a premium for not really much value at this point, for much performance. So I would just get a good Gen 3 drive and put it in there. Something with TLC-based flash. I know the new Western Digital Blue NVMe and black SN750 and SN550 are good. Samsung's a little pricey, but the gold standard. There are other good options, so that's my thoughts on that. But has two M.2 slots, so that's nice. I would definitely, it's easy to make use of both of those, especially with some games. 1 terabyte drives, which is kind of the sweet spot, is a healthy amount. You can get SATA SSDs as well, so no problem with that. Gaming and most tasks you don't notice much of a difference, just with like certain tasks, and you want your boot drive on the NVMe, obviously, and all of your small programs. So it still has those two M.2 slots. Just going down the line, yep, PCI Express 3, blah blah blah. Supports higher memory speed DDR4, which we are guessing later this year when the new Ryzen desktop CPUs come out. That, how with Ryzen, from Ryzen 1 to Ryzen 2 to Ryzen 3, it kind of supports higher speed RAM. With the first gen Ryzen, I still have it. I had the hardest time. I couldn't get 3000 megahertz RAM, 2933, and it needed extra voltage and all this finicking around just to get that to stick. Now you could get 3600, 3800 RAM, no problem, to work with Ryzen Gen 3. And I'm expecting even higher speeds are going to be supported by Ryzen Gen 4. So that's going to be an additional performance boost, not to mention the CPU performance that's baked into a new generation and improvements there. So this says support up to 4400 megahertz it mentions overclock, so it's like your mileage may vary type of disclaimer thing. But that'll be awesome. Probably over 4,000, I would expect. We've got 2 PCI Express 3x1 expansion slots. Your 2 M.2 slots. Got 6 SATAs, which is good. I've seen some try to cheap out with only 4 SATAs or 5 SATAs. So most people, that would be plenty still. But you know, I might want to use something like this in the future for like an Unraid server type setup, and in that case you want all the drive slots so you can get to plug in more hard drives and SSDs. You got 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2s, 1 Type C, 1 Type A, 5 Gen 1s, 6 USB 2s. You got a Realtek 2.5 gigabyte LAN, and Intel Wi-Fi 6 AX200 and Bluetooth 5.1, very nice. The audio is supposed to be kind of a beefed up audio chip on here. Has a heatsink for the one M.2 slot, not for the other, it seems like. Good cooling built into these B550 boards. They don't need those extra fans for the chipset on the motherboard, which is nice because those are annoying. And the 2.5 gigabyte LAN is interesting. Of course, the problem is you need everything in the chain needs to support that. So even though the motherboard will support the 2.5 gigabyte LAN, you need your router to support it. And well, that's the biggest thing, your router and any switches you might have, and anything else you need to plug it into. So that's cool. It's kind of a little ahead of its time. You'd have to invest more. Most people don't have stuff already that supports that. But it's cool because 1 gigabyte is like 100 megabytes per second, a little bit higher than that, which gets, you know, if you're transferring large files over your home network, that easily gets like filled up, and that becomes the limiting factor to transfer large files, especially between SSDs. So seeing that more than double is will be nice. I'm looking forward to that as I upgrade slowly into the future. What else we got here? The pre-installed I/O shield, very nice. Those things are a bitch to put in. I've always hated that. It's not, for some people it's not that big a deal, but like for some reason, some cases, the stupid little plate just doesn't want to fit in just right, and you have to use something to beat it in, and that can sometimes take me longer than any other part, and it's such a stupid thing. So I'm glad they're doing away with that. No reason to have those things. Get rid of them. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. That about covers the specs. If you want to know more, I could put some in the description, and of course you could Google it your own damn self. So without further ado, I'm going to unbox this bad boy and let's take a look at it. Yeah. All right. Opening this baby up. What we got here? Oh, some nice anti-static covering. Very nice. Let's carefully pull this bad boy up. And there it is. Let's get everything out here first. Got Wi-Fi antennas. I'm gonna place this here for 1 second. Let's see. It gives you only two SATA cables. A little cheap. Usually when I get a motherboard, you get I've gotten lots of SATA cables. So this kind of, you know, they're not expensive, but it's nice to have more. Especially having newer ones that you know support the latest speeds. Badge. Who the hell's gonna put that on their computer? If you do, you know, more power to you. Literature, ad crap. Your motherboard, drivers, and utilities, just go to their website. That was already going to be updated by the time you get it. Join the MSI reward program now. You know, this is like giving people a chance to win some of their products for advertising, buying reviews. Oh, yes. Blah, 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 blah. Quick installation guide, how to put in a CPU, how to plug in a fan. There's all that. I really want those new cases with the front, those front connectors. They have all those little tiny ones, you know, that all go together, and you got to put them in individually. I heard some of them are coming already put together. They're trying to standardize it, and then there's an adapter. If for some reason your motherboard's different and it doesn't work. I want my next case to have that, because screw those little tiny connectors, screw them straight to hell. Alright, and here's a more in-depth user guide from MSI, and you got your ridiculously tiny M2 screws for you to lose immediately. So keep in mind that could happen. Don't lose them, hang on to them. If you don't use them immediately, good luck. Keeping them in a safe place. Try your hardest. Try your hardest. Alright, so close the box here and use that as the platform, since that is not holding up very well. Let's see, remove it from this anti-static goodness. There it is. I'm not don't have much experience with these micro ATX boards. My goodness, this is tiny. It's kind of impressive how much power you could pack into such a small little package here. I'm not too excited on actually building in this thing because everything gets more crowded. So luckily they still seem to give you quite a few fan connectors here. Let me put this up here so you can get a better look. So, oh, there it is. There it is. There's the motherboard right there for you. New wafer. Alright, so it's got this nice pre-installed I/O shield. Love it, love it. Optical out, that's great. The audio out, yeah, so optical audio out is nice for people like me with older stereos, and you could still get some semblance of I don't think it's support. I don't think I technically get 5.1 out of it though. Maybe I do. I gotta look into that actually. But eventually I'm gonna get an HDMI one and just get the 5.1. But I don't game that much. A lot of my gaming I do through a stereo receiver that's hooked up to my TV and laid back on a recliner and got a controller. So I'm doing that more these days anyways. So. But yeah, so it's good to see that. This I/O shield is nice, yeah, it's a tiny board. Enough power delivery, even though it's just got the one connector. And you got these tiny. This heatsink is pretty nice and beefy, so this should help. But the little one on the VRMs here on the top is definitely. I'm sure it's smaller than the ATX version, so I can only imagine this gets a little bit warmer. Another trade-off for the price or the size. Normally I wouldn't really recommend this unless you have a micro ATX case and you need it to be small for the size and all that stuff. But you know, I'm sure this will handle you know, an 8-core no problem, and probably a bit more. You got still looks like a good amount of fan connectors here. As my AC kicks in to keep me cool but add noise to the video. I got one CPU fan here. Pump fan is way over here. Your RGB stuff is sprinkled in. Okay, another fan here, nice. So let's say one for the CPU. Maybe the pump fan will go for a fan on top or fan in the back. You've got 2 fans here that could go for probably at least 2 front fans. And then you've got another 1 fan connector on the bottom. So that could go for another either front fan or a bottom mount fan, or this can also, you could mix and match. So it's got enough fan headers. And you know, if you don't care about, you can always keep, you know, split some of them, and that's fine. Audio, rainbow, LED switch. There's a little switch here, interesting. Your USB connectors. 2 SATAs go straight out. The other 4 are your usual clustered. And that's another USB connector, I believe. And this one I think is for the USB-C connector for the front panel as well, so that's cool. I think. I still don't have one with a USB-C on it, so we shall see. I believe I'm going to be looking at the P400 digital RGB case. It's top for performer with cooling, so I'm not sure if it has USB-C though. Hopefully it does on the front, so we'll be able to see that. Yep, still have 2 M.2 slots, which is nice. One with a heatsink attached, one without. And the graphics cards that are nice and fat these days are probably going to mostly cover this M.2 slot on the bottom. Yeah. All right, well, that's about it. That's the motherboard. Hopefully it does its job well, stays cool, and has plenty of BIOS updates, and supports the RAM well, supports overclocking, stays cool, doesn't have a chipset fan, which is nice, and hopefully the Wi-Fi is pretty fast, and that's all there is to say about that. So it's been a pleasure talking with you guys. This is the Consumer Warrior, telling everyone to stay safe, be kind to each other, love each other, and until next time, bye now.